Good evening and welcome to BattleComm Unity. I am Paul, your host, along with our co-hosts Henny and Joe.
How's it going?
Howdy, folks.
Tonight we have a couple of special guests with us. First, we have Tex of the Black Pants Legion. How you doing tonight, Tex?
I exist. I am a man of pixels. I am an internet being, and I am here to shitpost.
And along with Tex tonight, we have our good friend Tuck Davion, who is live from Strategicon tonight. So, Tuck, how you doing tonight, buddy? He's got a bit of a delay, probably.
Hey everybody, how's it going? You got it. I'm right here at Strategicon's year-end event of the year, GameX, or not GameX, Gateway. GameX is the one I usually go to. We're running some Alpha Strike out here right now. It's Purple Bird Strong, baby. House Merrick versus House Kurita.
Awesome. Hope you guys are having fun out there. We'll get to you in a little bit, and you can tell us more about Strategicon. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to start off and talk about a few different things. First, we're going to talk about a couple of the few new product releases that have come out. Then we are going to go to Tex, and we're going to talk about his latest upcoming video, The Turning Point at Twycross. And then, of course, we'll talk about Strategicon, and we'll finish off the evening talking about the Fochts Network or 30th Century Fox Cruise experience at FanExpo Canada last weekend. With that said, I'll pass things over to Henny and Joe, and we'll get things going.
Tuck, thank you for coming out and joining us. I really appreciate your contributions. You've been one of the longest guys in the trenches running Battletech content creation since before podcasts had a pod to be named after. So I appreciate you coming out and narrating the Kurita versus Free Worlds League battle that's going on. It's always nice to see the Free Worlds League fighting somebody other than the Free Worlds League. Tex as well, I mean, thank you as well for coming out. I don't need to give you an introduction on our chat because you have given more introductions to the Battletech community than anybody in the community could possibly need from you. But I'm going to say my piece real quick before we
Wow, you're too nice. You're too nice.
Hey, I got to say my piece real quick before we get to the people that everybody here actually wants to listen to. As Joe giggles away in the background.
We're very important, Henny.
Of course, yes. Which I just want to mention, I'm going to name one quick product release, and then we'll kind of move on from that. But I do want to mention the thing I have sitting in front of me right now, which is the beautiful Legendary Mech Warriors 3 box. It is a box based on the Bounty Hunter in his various iterations, and it came out with the Kickstarter that I am fortunately one of the many people who has already received, and I'm quite happy to have. Yes, Paul's showing it there for us. He's not the prettiest fan of white in the world, but hey, we got him.
That's what I'm usually for.
That is what you're here for. You want a jazz hands?
Yeah, absolutely.
This set is, I mean, great for the PPC lover. You've got your Marauder 2, your Marauder, Warhammer. You have the Hell, which is actually the Loki Mark II, which the prime variant of that thing is just terrible. ER lasers and Gauss in pairs. And you have the Griffin 4N, which I'm mostly excited about to pretend it's just a Griffin 2N, the old Star League variant that we're all hoping to see pop up in our Comstar forces. You know, the Bounty Hunter, for those who don't know him, is a legacy, a persona, a code name, a fancy Lost Tech power armor, and a really bad reality show that is just passed down amongst a half dozen different people throughout the Battletech timeline. The original surfaced in the late 2900s. Not too much notice about him. He became a bit of a folk hero after bringing in a few major bank robbers and collecting a huge bounty on them and then selling their mechs. The one most people know about is the one that we see in the 3025 era. The rival to Natasha Kerensky lures her into a trap, gets most of the company she's with killed and or destroyed, salvages her Marauder, and that becomes his signature mech for quite a long time. There are some later incarnations, Vic Travers and Walt Urisman. They're like sidekicks of the original Bounty Hunter. In both of their cases, they took the character in a more mercenary criminal route as opposed to a folk hero. He was not much better than the people he was going after, and he was very much leaning into the kind of dog the bounty hunter persona, but he was also known at that time for killing his competition. However, there were some pretty cool bounty hunters as well over the years. My favorite, because I'm a Dragoons nut, Michi Nakitsuna. He was the sidekick to Minobu Tetsuhara, the protege, and he would use it along with the assistance of a couple of former Dragoons, Deacon Fraser and Jeanette Rand, to pursue his vendetta against warlord Greek Samsonov. Eventually, he would present Samsonov's head, as you do, just carry a head around as a gift, first to the widow of Minobu Tetsuhara and then to his father, who took a look around, realized they did not have space on the mantelpiece for it, and actually refused the gift. Later on, you'd actually see this whole set being used by the current incarnation of the bounty hunter, a man by the name of Michi Fraser, who is either a direct reference to the Nakitsuna period or possibly a descendant of Jeanette Rand and Deacon Fraser, who were in a relationship. And he's known for bringing all 6 of these mechs onto the field, piloted by him and his various lance mates. So that whole box is in use right now in the 3150s era, with slightly different configurations than some of the ones shown here.
So one of the things that we're going to do in the near future here at Six Sides of Gaming with our Friday Night Aces is that I'm going to actually take this box. I am going to get it all painted up for everybody. I'm also going to do up the Fox Patrol, and we are going to start doing some Clan era Aces games, and we're also going to be doing the stories of the Bounty Hunter with Aces games over a series of episodes. So with that said, I'll pass things back over to Henny and Joe, and we'll get over to some of the other guests and topics for tonight.
Yeah, before we kick it over to the big headliners for tonight, I want to start a new feature on BattleComm Unity, which is I'm going to start asking a lore question, like a little trivia bit, to be answered by folks in the chat every week. So this week, for some reason, I seem to have Twycross on my mind. Not sure why. But I'm going to ask a quick question of the community that hopefully somebody out there can answer. Unfortunately, I don't have a prize to send to you at the moment, so all I can offer you is bragging rights. But who's the first one who's going to be able to answer which mech did Kai Allard pilot in action at the Great Gash on Twycross? This is why I said you were going to read this, because I can't say Great Gash.
You made
Hatchetman.
much larger mistakes in rehearsal.
True. While decimating the Falcon Guards.
Want to ask that one more time?
Which mech did Kai
It
Allard
was the Hatchet
pilot
Man.
at
Whoever
the
said that
Great
was
Gash?
correct.
Hatchetman is absolutely correct, so thank you for that.
Who was it who got it right? Sorry? Jerry Sizzler. Congratulations. You get to brag to everybody.
Also, I think Tuck Davion does too, because I'm pretty sure he shouted out the answer in the background. And my second question, not that Kai ever needs a co-pilot, but who was in the jump seat of that particular Hatchetman during the Battle of the Great Gash?
Hey, you got it right. You did it all in one take.
All in
I'm
one
so proud
take
of
is a
myself.
beautiful thing. Well, while we wait for an answer, let's flip things over to TEX. TEX, tonight, tell us about the turning
to
point
leave.
at Twycross. What do you got
All I
going on
heard
for
was
us,
while we wait for an answer. Did I miss something? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ooh.
Tuck cut out there. So, Tex, if you want to talk, go for it, my friend, and let's hear about your latest upcoming release.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Tex, you with us?
All right, can you guys hear me? Can you?
I can hear you.
All right, so they can hear me. Can Canada hear me?
We can hear you now, Tex.
All right, Tex, there we go. Sorry.
Because
Bit of a
I
wall.
sure as hell cannot hear them.
There we go.
I'm in that same boat with you. I cannot hear Canada. Canada, hello.
There we go.
All right, have we got you back now, Tex?
I can solve this fairly quickly.
There you go.
Oh, good Lord.
Bingo, bango, bongo.
Bingo.
I
we're back.
screamed Hatchet Man as soon as you said that because I've spent 60 hours cutting that scene together. I have spent 60 hours assembling it, frame by frame. I screamed Hatchet Man. I cannot believe that I did not get to say that. It hurts my soul, gentlemen.
Well, for what it's worth, I heard you say
delays. I'm really glad, though, that nobody after Tech spent 60 hours cutting that together shouted
If you
out
like, I can
Centurion
call Paul's
falsely.
phone. I have that.
Oh, so good, so good. So, Tex, now that we got that little hiccup taken care of on the volume end, what do you got going on with the turning point at Twycross? What can you tell us? What details you got for us, my friend?
Brothers, guys in Canada, you are cutting out every 15 to 20 seconds. 1 second, I'm going to go way analog on this.
There we go.
there he goes.
All right, guys. Well, we're waiting for that to. We're waiting to pick back our guest hosts up. I'm going to quickly give a quick shout out to a couple of upcoming projects. I just really briefly wanted to mention. Releasing about a week ago, we had the Skulk of Foxes, which did actually come out with the Kickstarter as a PDF release. It was one of the stretch goals from the KS, and it focuses on the Screaming Eagles Mercenary Company. It's just a nifty little novella. I haven't had a chance to get too far into it, but I always like hearing about lesser-known units like the Screaming Eagles. We've also got Brian Young's new novella, Dogs of War, which continues on the story of Ghost Dogs, or of the Ghost Dogs. It's a Kellhound splinter group that he kind of introduced in Giving Up the Ghost, the first one of the Fortunes of War series from the KS stretch goals. And I am really excited to read that because I am a huge Kellhounds nut. And I'll be completely honest with you, Kellhound spin-off is basically how my custom Merc group started out. It's just mine were from the Morgan Kell era and not from the Calandre Kell era, hiding from the Jade Falcons. They were just hiding from what at the time may have been a little bit of Kellhound's mismanagement.
Of which there is no such thing. The Kellhounds have never had any mismanagement.
No, of course not. No, Morgan's disappearing to a monastery on Xania aside. Have we got our
guest back?
Our guest speakers
Okay.
back?
Hello, can you hear me?
We got things
Can
fixed
you hear
there.
me?
There we go. Can you hear us okay,
All
better,
right.
Tex?
I can hear you fine. You were cutting out a lot earlier. All right, so
Yeah,
let me
I
say
think-
this.
I think I got the
Go
lag
ahead.
fixed on our end.
Oh, God. The internet is full of, well, the internet's a series of tubes, as you know. So, long story short, we have spent the last year solid making a film for the Battletech community. We are 318% over budget. I have had to clean out several savings accounts to make this thing happen. We have hired George Ledoux. We have hired TMC, aka Hired Steel. We have hired Eldonius. If you've tried to pay Eldonius for the last 6 months, I'm the bastard for why you cannot hire him. I'm the reason why there is a delay in Hired Steel. I am so many reasons behind so many things going dark in the Battletech community. I'm not saying that as a bragging right. I'm saying I've put them all in one film like a madman. I have worked 70 hours a week in my day job to afford to do this, and it is going to be out next Saturday. If this is not the most nitromethane, if not meth-soaked experience you have seen in the Battletech fandom, I will quit. The trailer is just a teaser, I promise you.
All right. I am glad to explain, or I'm glad to finally have an explanation for why we have actually seen the blackout from the Dark Ages portrayed across the Battletech universe lately. So,
Listen, I am an obsessive bastard, and I know what I'm doing. Now, I'm not a handsome man. I am not in great health. I don't even have a full head of hair, but I know how to make a film. And that is my white whale, gentlemen. Were my heart a cannon, I would fire it onto it. From hell's heart. This thing will be done, and it will be glorious.
and like any government project, vastly over budget.
Listen, I tell you what. When you watch that thing in 4K, 60 frames a second, and ultra high def, and it is balanced for surround sound theater sound, you can judge me. When you sit down in your home theater and you go, holy shit. Yeah, no, I want you to judge. I want everyone to judge. I want them to say he's crazy, but he's right.
I think they already do.
So during that spiel, I heard this correct? The target date is next Saturday for release, correct?
Okay, that is pending asterisk YouTube not fucking us. Now, I'm going to say this. YouTube loves screwing people up. They will absolutely do all sorts of things to various channels for no reason whatsoever. They are more arbitrary than a indecisive date. They are horrible. So if they decide that all of a sudden a sound effect is copywritten, yes, that may delay it. But pending no disasters on our end, we should be ready. We have custom music. We have a custom soundtrack. We have gone all out. Every stop that can be pulled is pulled. We are poor as shit. We haven't slept in days. The house is like 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Canadian units. But we have 32 cores on one computer with 8% CPU remaining. We have 2 render farms that have said, please, no more. Because we have used that much of their space.
All right. Awesome. So when you were making the video, Tex, what did you find the greatest challenge to get things done, other than the timing of things?
Well, it's one of those things. A film is a patchwork quilt, and every artist has their own lens. And you have to sit down with a lot of people who have a lot of experience and know what the fuck they're doing. And you cannot tell an editor what to do because you hire an editor for their lens. You can't do a George Lucas on people. You can't just be like, oh, Jar Jar's the key to this, and then force that to happen. You have to listen to the editor. If the editor says this is cut, this doesn't work, you have to listen to that. The hardest part of all of this is realizing you have 50 different lenses working together to make a single cohesive product, and it has to be in focus. We're doing a proofing showing this evening, probably if not tomorrow morning, very early, depending on when we fall asleep, which we haven't for the last few days. But the most difficult part of all this is it's like, I often frequently say it's like being a sailor in the early age of sail, where you head to the edge of the map where it says there be dragons. And you have no idea where the hell you're going. And there's no such thing as a compass. And you're just like, let's do another day. Let's just work hard another day and see what happens. You have to have faith that land will be there. And that is the hardest part, is keeping it all together. Because when you work on something, any long-term project, any of you out there who are parents, any of you out there who have kids, any of you who are out there who have started your own business, you know what it's like, that saying, you only work half days, the first 12 hours of the second 12 hours.
Yeah.
You're out there busting your ass every day, and you've learned that axiom that all adults learn, which is, work your fingers to the bone and you shall earn bony fingers.
Yeah.
And you work day after day after day, and there's no reward in this. I don't make money off it. But that's part of being an artist. You have to do something because you think it's necessary, and you start to go fucking crazy. And that's fine, because it helps.
Honestly, you don't make money off it, but you get like 250,000 views for all of your lore videos, which is more than I thought the entire Battletech community combined would be able to muster. So that's a pretty impressive number.
I don't mean to be obtuse or correct you, sir, but I draw in 500,000 views every 4 weeks.
I apologize. I gave the
it's-
opening day
it's-
numbers.
no, and-
Forgive me.
No, and believe me, I'm not saying that to be obtuse or to, humble brag. It scares me because I'm going, the community's not that big. What's going on? And I get messages from people who are going, I've watched this 6 times, and I'm like, please don't.
May you have good luck evicting that person from the bushes outside your house.
Well, that's what I mean. Is it's one of those things where you feel good if someone even says something nice, right? But when 100,000, like, good Christ, we actually caused a YouTube Cloudflare outage with one of our premieres because YouTube said there was no way in hell 5,000 people all tuned into a random YouTube channel on like a Sunday afternoon arbitrarily. And YouTube goes, those have got to be bots. And so my community has adopted the every time things start being throttled or lag out because of YouTube, they go beep boop in the chat. Because they're just saying, yeah, YouTube says we're bots.
So to follow up with what what challenges you found when you guys are making videos, obviously you're going to script everything, you're going to have everything matted out because you're going to have to get your artwork set up ahead of time, et cetera, regular movie production. But how much do you find yourself during the course of putting things together, ad-libbing and adding in new things?
That's a great question. I'd love the answer to, because we really do almost all this stuff off the seat of our pants.
I'm going to say this. If you can't learn to fly by the seat of your pants, you can't be film. You just can't do it. It's one of those things where you look back, film production is very much like the early age of aviation, right? Where you're like, I'm not sure that'll fly. And you're like, somebody's got to try it, right? And you climb in and you buckle it up. You buckle your fuckles and you start the engine. And you're like, let's find out. And when it comes down to improv, we do have a script. We do have a production method. But we run into unique, insane problems that should not exist any given day of the week. Any given day of the week we're doing something. We'll go, hey, we crashed Adobe because the scene is too big. And we have to get on the Adobe forums and contact the devs and go, we broke Adobe. And they're like, what does that mean? What did you do? And we're like, well, we made a video about stompy robots. We run into all of these walls all the time, but desperation and being short-handed is the necessity of invention. Gentlemen, I'm sure when all of you were bachelors, you have whipped up amazing food out of things that should not be edible that you had in your kitchen. I am certain you've done it. Yeah. Film is the same thing.
We did it on the way here.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
We've all made some moms tired before.
You got any more questions for Tex on this?
I'm really curious as to which one of your videos it was that the release caused that cloud flare out. I was thinking maybe the Hunchback, but I don't want to...
I would have put money on the Hunchback, yeah.
It was the Mackie, and then we did it again in the American Civil War, because, and the American Civil War did it as well, because we had a part one. And we had this video that was like 3 hours long, and we almost bricked my editor's computer. And he said, I cannot make one long video. And I said, okay, what do we do? And he says, let's cut it. We'll have a cliffhanger, and then we'll have a part two. Fine, cool. So we have the cliffhanger. We start building plot part two. It's really, really fine. When part two came around, so many people showed up to that. YouTube says, this is a fucking bot farm. There was no way all these people showed up. And it was jumping all over the place. And Google sent me a message. I still have it as a badge of honor. I have it saved where they say, oh, you shouldn't use bots for premieres. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I wish I had that kind of money. Now, who has a bot farm in North America? Answer, nobody. It's really expensive. And so it's one of those things where you realize, holy crap, I'm a nobody. Gentlemen, I told people on the Patreon, I come from dirt, I will return to dirt, and in between, I will make sandcastles while the waves crash down and destroy them. I am a nobody, and if a nobody like me can pull this off, it scares YouTube, because they go, well, this isn't a video trying to sell anything. And I'm like, indeed not. This is a madman who has said, I want to make a Stompy Robot documentary, and people keep paying me to do it. So I put way more budget into that than I ever receive on Patreon, and I keep going further. This is the most we have ever done for a video. I'm telling you, that trailer is just touching the surface.
So YouTube thought it was a Russian bot farm, but you were like, no, 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 it's just every single member of MechForce Germany all logging on at the same time.
I was gonna make a similar-ish joke about like
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
in a really narrow way. If you try and slice the definition enough, it is a bot farm. It's just a giant robot farm instead of
Oh, God.
Yeah, there it
No,
is.
and I
This is why we
agree.
don't let him
No,
talk
I
on
absolutely agree. No, and I absolutely agree. It's one of those things where, like, a lot of YouTubers go out there and they try to apply to the whole wide internet, right? They iron themselves down to be very G, if not PG. They try not to swear. They try to round all their edges off. They try to say, yeah, brought to you by Squarespace, brought to you by Lootbox, brought to you by who gives a shit. And the thing is that I've been this kind of counterculture guy. I'm a bit of a punk. I do not like people telling me what in the cinnamon toast fuck to do. And I said, I have been empowered to make these insane documentaries. If this is my destiny, my quote-unquote artistic destiny, I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna do the shit out of it until they make me stop. The fact that we broke YouTube is a badge of honor. I will keep doing this until they bury me.
or until they fix their infrastructure.
I
God,
think
it's
you're
Google.
probably
They
right.
won't
That'll
do
happen
that.
Second.
Yeah, probably.
If I could be over here applauding everything you just said, that's what I would be doing.
Well, thank
So
you,
much
brother.
of what you just said, I fucking resonate with so hard. Excuse my French. I was just sitting over here pumping my fist, going, "Yes."
What the point is that, like,
what he's having.
I'm a nobody from nowhere. I grew up on a fucking farm, man. I learned to drive a tractor before I had a car. So when people are sitting there going like, you need to be highbrow to make art, I'm like, no, you just need to be crazy. Crazy helps. The outro to the Charger, where I put the definition of crazy, being able to fight God but your arms are too short, that's what it's like to make anything. Anything. If you put your whole heart into it and you burn yourself to pieces every time you do it, you're making art. It may not fill Madison Square Garden. Sure, it may not make you wealthy. But if you can sleep at night knowing you gave it your all and you swung for the fences, that's the point.
500,000 people would more than fill Madison Square Garden. I will give you that.
If you screw up,
I'm going to say
volume
this.
on a live stream, they still respect you.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing: is that, like, if Madison Square Garden said please do a Battletech, I would. They would ask me to leave before it was finished. They're like, you've used the F word every 3 seconds, and I'm like, yeah, it's a nervous tick.
It's a nervous tick.
We did lose our PG-13 rating pretty quickly into the stream tonight.
And a few potential sponsorship deals down the line.
No,
Possibly.
No, look, guys, I'll send you some Canadian Tire money. You'll be all right.
Canadian Tire money.
Oh, yeah,
I don't think I've
just
actually
blew our
touched
Disney
Canadian Tire
deal,
money
that's
for
all.
about 6 years. All right, so with that said, what do we got for Tuck? Tuck, you're out there at Strategicon.
Yeah, I want to know what the Battletech scene is like down there.
Okay, so that's right. I am down here in Southern California at Strategicon. This event is called Gateway. What they do is they put on 3 events a year down here at the LAX Hilton. So on President's Day weekend, you have OrtCon. Memorial Day weekend, you have GameX, and Labor Day weekend, you have Gateway. Now, I've done all of them, and these are all fantastic conventions, but the Battletech scene down here in Los Angeles is thriving. You got Alpha Strike players, you got Classic players. There's all kinds of heart for Classic Battletech here in the City of Angels, and today, in fact, is the only Alpha Strike game that I'm running, because they told me basically, yeah, run at least one of those. And the other 2 days, I ran Classic Battletech, and we just had a blast. I had an Irby Derby on Friday, and then I had metal versus plastic on Saturday, so it was all the 1980s Ral Partha steel versus the newfangled planners. And the planners just barely eked out a victory. So today we're doing Purple Bird Strong. We got House Merrick, a Combined Arms Company, versus some more House Kurita, also Combined Arms. So that's what we're doing here today. There's a big-time Battletech scene out here.
So, question for you, Tuck. How many players you guys got out there at Strategicon playing BattleTech today, or over the course of the weekend? How was the turnout?
So our draw for plastic versus metal was really good. We had about 8 players for that, and that lasted, I want to say, 7 hours. We started at 4, and yeah, we ended for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yeah, almost 11 o'clock. So that was a great game. Today we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us here for this Alpha Strike game. And in fact, just across the way here where Phil was coming from, we had an Alpha Strike game going on, and they had an additional 7 to 8 players over there. So some of them broke, and they're going to go have lunch or dinner or whatever, and then others just went straight from that game to this one. So
So one of these days,
that's where we're at with it.
one of these days, in the future, at an undisclosed date, we are going to drag Tex kicking and screaming to one of these conventions. Does that sound good to you, Tex? Eventually, one day in the future.
Listen. I'm gonna
wish
say
you luck.
this. Yeah, good luck. Send more than 6. But no, what I'm saying is I'm not really a people person. It's weird. I live an isolated life. I literally, God, for a 4-year window of my life, I lived off the grid. I literally lived off the grid, where I talked to maybe regularly a circle of less than 7 people. Sometimes that sort of solitude breaks people. I'm fine with it. I'm autistic, so to each their own. But when it comes down to large crowds, CGL offered to send me to a con. A bunch of other people have asked me to be a con. I'm pretty good friends with Tycho, who you guys may or may not know. He's the guy who runs PAX. He's like, please show up and do a thing. I just say thank you, but no. I'm very much a private person, and I know that probably hurts my commercial abilities or whatever. But I guarantee you, if you had me on stage at a con, I would sit there and drink whiskey and smoke cigars, and then people would go, "What do you think about this robot?" And I'd say it's all right, and they would be utterly disappointed. They would just
explain your voice.
be like utterly disappointed. They would say, "What do you think about this? What do you think about that?" It's fine. Enjoy it. I don't care. I'm not your dad.
You guys got anything for Tuck?
I mean the old metals versus plastic game sounds absolutely incredible. Can you tell me anything more about that? Like I mean, was there anything?
Yeah,
was there
so
any twists
let's
to the
talk
game?
about that. For that
Yeah.
one, I had a gunslinger that I had painted up a while back, and I'm talking about like 4 or 5 years ago, and I painted like kanji on it and stuff like that. And I was just like, how cool would it be if I could lead a force into battle with that guy? So I says, okay, I've got 3 weeks to put like 3 games together. I've got to really move on it. So I says, okay, let's do some plastic versus metal. I'm going to get these old Ralph Partha figs that I've got sitting in my pile of shame painted up, because I've got a scaly dragon from 1984. I've got an unseen Warhammer here, a grasshopper, a Huron warrior. And so I'm throwing all of these together, and I'm just like, all right, I can't make any excuses. I can paint red. I can do Second Sword of Light. So, and I had some fantastic minis from Carrie Jo Patton of the Unicorn Company podcast.
Yep.
She gave me a bunch of clanners. So we had a Mad Cat Mark II, we had a Cougar, a Vulture Mark IV, a Mad Dog, and a Black Lantern, plus some squads of battle armor. And that was
Filthy
all plastic
Clanners, says
stuff
the guy
going up
wearing the
against
Mad
these,
Cat shirt.
1984 Ralph Partha. Do what?
I just said to myself, sorry, Filthy Clanners, says the guy ironically wearing a Mad Cat shirt.
He'd be on the Ral Partha side.
Maybe not the Ralph Partha side, but the Inner Spear.
And
Those are
I
your
played
choices.
the tracks, and we did manage to tattoo them pretty well. They eked out what we decided was a minor victory, because they were able to destroy 3 out of 4 of the power station nodes and escape with 2 Mad Dogs. So that was it. We took everybody else out.
So one of the things Tuck and I have been discussing in the last week or so is that Tuck will be making an appearance at Southern Assault. I think 3 is this year, if I stand to be corrected, up down in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, with the guys at Fortress Miniatures and Games. I suggested to Tuck the other night that when he comes to that, how about he makes a diversion up to Toronto and comes up here at Six Sides with us the week before, and to film some content here, and also appear at our last convention appearance at Halloween before he goes down to the down to Southern Assault. So that's something that we're working on. That'll be in the near future, in the next about a month or so. We'll get all the logistics worked out, and we'll get things up and running for that. Speaking of our own stuff,
I am absolutely in. I am super excited for that.
It's going to be great to have you up here and filming some games and appearing out in the public with you and doing live ambassador work and stuff for the game with the general public. With that said, our own crew at 30th Century Fox, Fochts Network, we just this past weekend, we're at FanExpo Canada, where we put on a main event table of Battletech Aces. We did Waco versus Wolf. We ran the main event twice a day for 3 days, and then once on the Thursday. So we did it 7 times. I think my good friend Wayne Waco won 1 time. Is that correct, guys? 1 time?
Yeah, Waco won once. The really cool thing about it, as far as I'm concerned, even though someone may have weighted the forces slightly on the side of Wayne Waco, looking at an Orion and a Victor paired up against 2 medium mechs, the cards, or sorry, I should say the dice, although the cards as well, because the Aces deck was in play, decided to err on the side of canonicity was the word I was looking for. And actually 3 of those games ended with a headshot boxcars with the leaders killing each other in the same round.
So when we did these events, obviously everybody had a good time. One of the things we really try and strive and focus on when we are at conventions is bringing in a new generation of players. And most of the players this year at FanExpo were mostly under the age of 25, which is rare for Battletech, at least in my experience over the last few years of us doing this. We really got to touch base with some of the younger generation. Our tables were full even an hour before the convention opened on Thursday night because security accidentally opened the doors early, and we were jammed. We did not stop 8, 9, 10 hours a day, nonstop Battletech. We just kept rotating through. The tables were full. We had that table. We also had an introductory table. We were even running some aerospace, I think, for a little bit at one point. Yeah. And people are really, really, really jumping to the game, especially when they see it for the first time. They see the cool boards. They see robots, of course, and of course they see narrative gameplay. When you put narrative gameplay down, you put some of the cards. I think I brought some of them here. We take the Alpha Strike card and we add some other stuff on it, obviously, so people know where they are, and cool details. We add some special rules in there for the characters. We did that with the Aces deck. We had some plot armor for it, so the characters were not getting shot at early on in the game, so the players couldn't game the game, or game the scenario, sorry. And then it would always finish with, the cool duel at the end and whoever was left surviving out of the player characters. Yeah. Any thoughts from you guys on it? What your experience with it this year was?
Yeah, I mean, I was only there for the actual weekend days. I saw so many people coming up to the table, playing, sitting down, leaving, coming back. I think I lost count of the number of new faces we saw after hour 2 on my first time, when I was first there. It was an incredible turnout. I was absolutely floored. Everyone was having a blast. Henny was there. You saw a little bit more than I did.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to.
I mean, yeah, we had actually a little bit of an issue. We were running out of mechs. We based the scenario on having the Aces decks each controlling a lance, and then having the players on each side controlling a lance and giving out 1 mech apiece. So in addition to having an intro table that was running with basically the entire Alpha Strike set paired out the whole time, we were actually
and that was full too. That was a good. That had anywhere from 5 to 10 people on it at most of the day.
Yeah, we were actually getting to the point where we didn't have enough mechs for the players, so I was having to give certain players directions on behalf of the Aces deck and have them kind of move the mech where they wanted to.
Yeah. So one of the other things we got to do there too is we want to have people experience not only just BattleTech, but obviously we're showcasing and demonstrating what Aces is going to look like, and people getting to interact with stuff. So we had some of the people, come back and and co-run the game with us, understanding how this works. So there was a lot of positive feedback on the Aces side of things. People really like their cooperative gameplay. They really enjoy it. It's really interesting watching brand new players, people who haven't even necessarily played Dungeons and Dragons before, or any other game like that, or any type of tabletop wargaming system, get together for the first time, introduce themselves to one another, and then begin plotting and planning in a narrative scenario. So I really think this Aces thing is going to be, I know I'm biased here, but this is going to be a big thing. It'll be a big thing for modern wargaming. It's going to be an enormous thing for BattleTech. And I'm really looking forward to it when things finally do happen. Now, that said, while we were there also, we didn't just do BattleTech. We also had our good friends from Linvander Studios, Six Sides of Gaming. We were all there. That we were running the Amaria Dungeons and Dragons, which was a very popular success. And we also had our friends from Star Wars Gaming Ontario there running X-Wing, which Josh Dirksen from Linvander, of course, his original AI that he created many years ago, 7, 8 years ago, was Heroes of the Alturi Cluster. No, I'm probably saying it wrong, which is an AI deck for X-Wing. So, we have lots of connections there, and obviously we had a big turnout. On the other side of the room from us, we also have more Dungeons & Dragons. That was with Unite the Factions. The room at any given time had 200 to 250 people in it consistently over the course of the entire weekend. I would say it was a major success. They've asked us to come back again next year. Obviously, it'll be our 3rd or 4th year in a row, and they want to expand the room. So they want to, go up another 35% in size. So that means more BattleTech, more gaming for everybody. So everybody that attended, everybody that came out and supported what we were doing, we thank you. We thank all our sponsors for all the support that we get. We thank Catalyst Game Labs for providing this awesome game for us and the opportunity to go out there and bring the game to the public. We have a lot of fun doing that, and it's very important to us. With that said, Tex, me and you have talked about this at length over the last couple of years. Community is a big thing, and what do you think your thoughts are going forward? How the community interacting, not maybe with Aces or anything, but just in BattleTech in general. What do you see? Where do you see things going?
I think that so long as we can remember back, we were all once weird young dorks, right? We're all nerds, and we were once the ostracized kid, that was like pushed into lockers or whatever, just whatever. And what I'm saying is that we all found BattleTech at a various point in our life, and it was something that grabbed us. And now that we're adults, we're still playing this game. It's something very special. And if you share it with someone, it becomes even greater. It's like any shared communal event that is joyful, whether it is, you find yourself loving going to concerts and sharing music with people, or you love learning new recipes and cooking and sharing around a big table. That joy is BattleTech in a nutshell. If you cannot share the joys of this game, then don't play it. But I think most people who play BattleTech want people to know about it.
Yeah.
And so long as we have that in our hearts as our primary function in doing this and saying, hey, you don't have to play a shitty game that has models that, require you to take out a second mortgage to buy. If you say, hey, let's play a game where war crimes are just part of it. Let's play a game that doesn't dance around fucked up things and instead says, hey, people are human. Mistakes happen, and that orphanage had to go.
I wonder how much shade James Workshop's feeling over him right now.
Fuck them.
Oh, the orphans! The orphans!
What I'm saying is, BattleTech's a fun game, and it's endured for this long by a hardcore of people who give a shit. If you go to a Games Workshop store, you will not find someone giving out free minis without selling crack or something. If you go to a BattleTech game store, I can tell you I have heard a dozen stories of players saying, here's some free mechs. Let me show you how to play.
I
what
may or
faction
may
do you
not
want to
have
be?
vomited
Yeah.
loot boxes throughout that convention.
Yeah, that is something that I think is really unique to our community. There is an embracing of new players, and I think it's important. Like
Unless they're Capellans, then they're not welcome.
yeah, they're not welcome. No Capellans. But I think as the elder statesman here in this conversation, and then Tex is not too far behind me, and I don't think Tuck's that far behind me either. And then the two young birds over here on the other side of the table from me. I think it's important that we do our best to serve the olive branch out to new players, to the new generation.
Yeah.
Somebody, how do they put it? They said, in order to plant seeds, you have to have trees there already with roots in the soil to allow it to grow. And because we have the roots there, we need to make sure that new players have a way and a welcome forum to
sure.
join us, right?
Absolutely. And I think the ultimate thing that I point out, like, I'm on really good terms with all the other content creators who make Battletech stuff. One by one, people have approached me and they've said, Tex, you lit the way and I don't want to take from you or whatever. And I said, brother, this is not about building a pillar. This is about building a broader stage. I want 100 Battletech creators. I want 100 video lore makers. I want 100,000 artists. I want 100,000 musicians. I don't want to be alone in the dark anymore. That's too much like my childhood. I want there to be somebody to fight with my stompy robots, even just any concept of that principle. Like, I'm fine fighting them in HBS. I'm fine fighting them in Megamech. I'm fine fighting them in Tabletop. I want more people into this. We always need more people. If you sit still in any game setting, any hobby, it turns into an old folks' home really quick. It's the same 5 people sitting around having the same 5 conversations. And nothing evolves.
Well,
Nothing moves on.
Actually, the real reason that they've brought me here is I'm actually serving the token role as the new player. It was actually thanks to Battletech. I had moved to a new town a couple of years ago, and I did not play Battletech at the time. And it was actually thanks to, I checked out my local game store, and thanks to this guy and a couple of others, I got into Battletech at that moment. And because of that, I actually started settling into my new home a lot easier than I would have otherwise. So I owe, my story with this game is that Battletech helped me integrate into a new hometown, and that's a big deal to me. And if that's the kind of experience that bringing new players into the game is going to have, I'm behind that 100%.
Yeah,
and I agree. I think that is exactly what it needs to be, because in the 40K community, just for comparison, I'll find somebody who says, I saved up all this to buy this army. And I'm like, well, who are you going to play it with? They have no answer. If you look at the Battletech community, they'll say, I bought twice as many as I needed on the Kickstarter. I'm giving half away at the local game store next Saturday. And I'm starting a Battletech group.
Exactly.
That philosophy is that philosophy is at the core of who we are. We are a giving group of people that when our cup overflows, we make sure everyone has a glass.
Yeah, when we're at the cons, we try to actually hook up players with other groups in our general area that play. So that's another thing, if anybody here is watching in the GTA, you want to give a shout out to your local group, please mention it to us. We can maybe send some new players your way. We just met a whole bunch of new ones last week. One of the things I really enjoyed about the con this year was actually we were having a lot of players crossing aisles. A lot of our guys were playing at the D&D tables, and then we got a lot of people actually coming off the D&D tables, or a couple coming off the X-Wing tables. There was a couple of young women that were at one of Devin's tables that he was DMing for, and he's one of the best DMs in the world. I will give him that shout out. Here for posterity, although I'll never admit to it in person.
On his own channel?
Yes, on his own channel.
On his own channel.
And they ended up coming over and playing with us afterwards, and one of them was actually one of the ones that was really took an interest in the lore side of things more than anything else, but she was also one of the ones that was helping me with, interpreting how the Aces deck wanted to run things and getting to be my little Vanna White and moving around the pieces. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate seeing that new players like that who were brand new and a completely different generation, early 20s as opposed to my mid-30s, coming in and being a part of the group and being a part of the game. When what we started out doing this, we didn't start this for money. This wasn't something that we did to get nerd clout. We were literally just looking for people to put on the kind of events that we wanted to run. And I think part of why we are doing well at the cons that we do is that we take such a narrative approach and we become approachable for the D&D players. We're not just, running a grinder, which does have its place, but is not maybe the biggest way to attract and draw new people in who are coming from a more sim or RPG based background.
Yeah, so one of the things now we've got this year, like we're going into our third full year of doing conventions and store events and things like that. This year, I was talking to the crew. We had a meeting this morning, and when we conclude our game on Monday night, weekly, that Henny and Joe run at the game store up in Barrie, that will be our 100th public appearance this year since January 1st. Between Monday and the end of the year, we have another 70 scheduled. So we'll have 170 event days just with the Fochts Network crew running games at 3 different stores, running a couple of streams, and then, of course, all the conventions. And we set out doing this. It was just me and Henny and a couple of the other guys doing 1 or 2 shows or 1 or 2 game stores. And the intent, as Henny said, was we wanted to create an environment where one day we don't have to do it, other people start doing it.
Back when I was the newbie.
And our group grew and grew and grew, and now we've got all these games going on at all these different gaming stores, and I can just show up and play a game, which is fantastic, and that really gets me excited.
I had a couple of my guys from my Barrie group show up to FanExpo, and without being asked or even saying anything,
that they would even be there.
Yeah, we didn't know they were going to be there. We didn't think they were going to be volunteering. They just showed up and started running the beginner table for us without any prompting. So thank you very much, Elijah. I appreciate that. Thank you also, Eric/Goose, for coming down. And I want to give a shout out to Lucas, who is one of the guys from our downtown Bachal group, our Harry T guys. He ran the intro table like the first 2.5 days of the con completely on his own and soloed that and just killed it. So I really do appreciate him coming out there.
Okay, so with that said, Tex, do you have any final words for tonight? Anything you want to talk about and touch on?
Here's the thing. As I've told people on the Patreon and in my own community many times, I'm a nobody from nowhere. If you find what I do cool or interesting, please keep in mind, I started off making very short, very minimalistic shitposty videos. Like very much nothing. If I can do it, if a random schmuck like me can do it,
13.
You can do it. And today is the day to start. Whether that is writing poetry, voice acting, making film, getting in shape, whatever the hell your art is, start today. Because the worst thing that you can do is look back in time and go, I could have, and I didn't. Regret as I get older is the most painful thing in the world. It's worse than arthritis. It is worse than lack of sleep. Regret. Go out there and find your art and make it work. Jump on that shit like the last chopper out of Knob.
I couldn't have said any better myself. You just heard me over here like, That's exactly right. But okay, so a friend of mine used to have a saying, and that saying went, addition is greater than subtraction. And with the Battletech community, Tex said a lot of really good points there. One of the biggest things that I've noticed, like if you were to use his example of go into a store where a bunch of 40K guys are playing, if they could, for example, get you into the game so that they can stomp you right out of it, Battletech is more like, we're just happy to have you at the table, man. Yeah, we'll give you free mechs if that's what'll get you to come back. No problem. You can make this stuff happen. And that, I feel like it's that instant camaraderie, that instant fellowship that somebody feels. And I tell people all the time, the big secret to this is to make people feel welcome and wanted, and then they will be willing to come. I call it the 3 W's. And if you can do that, then you will get people at your table. And you're going to find that more often in the Battletech community, at least ways I feel like, than almost anywhere else. And I've seen it. And Tex is right. Nobody's giving out minis at a 40K event. I promise you. So, insofar as what I got coming up, I'm working on a project right now called How Big is a Hex? I'm using all that math that we said in grade school that we would never use in real life. I'm having to use it because we're going to draw out a life-size hex in a field, and I'm traveling the country right now measuring real-life examples of mechs and tanks and aerospace fighters and things like that, so I can show you this is how you fit all these different units inside one space on the battlefield. This is how much actual space they take up.
Sorry. You measured real life mechs? Whereabouts?
Yeah, at Gen Con, they have an urban mech that is 1-to-1 scale.
Okay.
I don't care if it's an urban mech, gentlemen. It's a real-life mech.
Yeah, but it's an urban mech.
That's
I
what
don't
he
care.
took out of it. What I took out of it is
Listen.
There.
Tuck is out there somewhere creating crop circles randomly, and there is probably a
Look,
terrified farmer in
everyone-
Iowa wondering where the giant hex in the back of his cornfield came
Where
from.
did this hex out of my cornfield show up at?
Look, somebody's got to keep those guys guessing. They can't get complacent.
If I had something that could make crop circles, fellas, I guarantee you would have known it a long time ago. Right here in the next turn.
Well, I'm going to get things wrapped up here for tonight. I want to thank Tex and Tuck for both coming on tonight and having a good time with us and talking. Again, everybody, next Saturday, tentatively, Twycross video release date for Tex. Stay tuned to social media for the official, it's a go once they got everything finalized. I want to take a moment. Henny touched on this earlier. Tuck, you're one of the guys that's inspired me and inspired our crew. When we first got back in the Battletech about 7-8 years ago after a hiatus, you were the videos that were on YouTube. And so were Tex.
You're kidding.
And we always felt you never got enough credit for what you did. You're out there driving from store to store across the country. You're going out to conventions. You're promoting the game. You're a genuine guy. And we all consider you a friend.
Yeah.
And that's why we want you up here when you can, so we can do content together. And we're all together in this. We're all a team. And we really appreciate everything you've done. Tex, obviously, we've become friends over the last couple of years, and what you do is sensational. You are the Wizard of Oz for Battletech. We all follow that yellow brick road that you've created, and I can't wait to watch the next video when it comes out. I got my own reasons for that too, but I won't say anything. And guys like Big Red, who's a good friend of the channel. Big Red does a lot of work. He like tireless like Tex.
He's in the video too.
Yeah.
As is Finn, as is Meg Frog.
Yeah.
So you'll probably get to see all of us in some capacity in the video coming up.
I'm telling you, next video, I'm gonna have Tuck in it, and I'm gonna have him do a shit post, or I'm gonna have him read shit during the credits. So I can have Tuck do the sound off where he's just sitting there like, "Hey, I'm Tuck Davion," and then I was thinking about having him do a green screen or a blue screen behind him, and have him interacting with the credits, like making fun of people's names, like trying to pronounce them. Like he going, "What is that? Is that a nerve agent? That's not a name."
Yes. I'm
Yeah,
in.
Yeah, Tuck really kind of got out there, and as much as people might say that Tex and some of the other creators kind of blazed the trail, Tuck got out there and was scouting it in an Ost Scout with his emotional support medium laser way ahead of anyone else.
No, Tuck went out to Gorst Flats, where the last stand of the Black Watch was. Tuck went out there just to see it and understand it. Tuck is the man on the ground. Tuck is our Walter Cronkite.
If you see
My God, thank you. That is exactly why I went out there.
For those of you in Middle America, if you see the middle-aged man that is to the right of our border on the screen behind Tommy Gofton, in your cornfield with a lawnmower, don't be scared.
Just let him
with that
He's
said,
got business.
With that said, I'd like to call it a night. Everybody, thank you for being here tonight. We got lots of cool content coming up on Friday Night Aces, which is coming back this week. My apologies to everybody. I couldn't get it done this week, coming back off the con and a short work week, going into the long weekend. Things were just so busy I couldn't manage. I will make it up to you, I promise. We will have cool content with the Bounty Hunter. I'm quickly going to try and get together some Clan era stuff as well. Try to get some of the Brian Young Fox Patrol stuff in there. And, of course, we will bring back Lance Vander. The Highlander will be there. Tommy will be back in another week, and things will be rocking. That said, I bid everybody adieu. Have a good night, and enjoy your long weekend.
Yep. Thanks a lot, guys. This was a really fun stream to be on.
Sorry
Good
for
night,
swearing.
everybody.
Sorry for swearing, but I will not fix that. I will always swear.
Me either.
Let it out in post. We can do that, right?
Yeah, we're totally not.
You
Oh, yeah,
cannot.
yeah.
You cannot
live?
edit me out. No, look. As soon as you try to edit me out in swearing, you'll say it out loud. You'll be like, "This fucking guy."
All right, everybody. Have a good night. Have a great long weekend. We love you all. Keep playing Battletech. Do your thing. We'll see you on Friday.
Woo! Nice.
And we're off, guys.
All right.